Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 0 to 60. On today's episode, we're going to have a close-up look at the 17T China turbos and see what they're really like. Make sure the build quality's right, make sure the wastegates aren't going to fall off straight away, and just make sure that the sellers didn't do anything deceiving in their advertising. I'm also going to give a quick rundown on all the parts I've bought to make these things work, because if you've looked into this, it's not just a matter of buying the turbos. You do need a lot of supporting mods to make sure that everything works properly. So let's jump into that. Okay, so I've got all this laid out. Now, this is pretty much everything unboxed that I could unbox, and I think I've got everything. But yeah, when we actually recorded that last video on the turbos, these were due to arrive on the Friday and we'd planned to film on the weekend, but the postage didn't turn up. But they turned up just after I'd finished editing the video, so I have got them here now, which is awesome. Yeah, look, let's look at all these other parts first, and then we'll have a close-up look and see what these things are like. So, starting with the biggest item first, this is the 7.5-inch intercooler. Now, this one, again, was a China special. I think it was $450 Australian plus freight plus taxes, so it ended up at about 800 Aussie by the time it got here. And it did take nearly 6 weeks to arrive, thanks to all the lovely coronaviruses. Now, this actually only arrived yesterday. I've only had a very, very quick look at it. It looks pretty much the same as the VRSF ones. In fact, you can almost see where someone has ground down the VRSF logo, which is a bit shoddy. But it was cheap, that's why I got it. It'll be interesting to see what it works like. Along with the turbos, we got the intake pipes. Obviously, these go from the pods to the turbos. These actually come from the same manufacturer as the turbos, or they were sent at the same time anyway. Actually all feel pretty good. They have got reinforcements in them. These fittings here are part of my transcooler kit. In fact, actually that's the rest of it just there, all the hose and that sort of stuff. It's just run out of space. So got they're actually -10 fittings, which is the size of the fitting on the cooler and the size of the hose that I've got. I've got these -8 adapters to adapt the -10 down to -8, which will then fit onto the BMP transcooler fittings over there. But back over here, we've got the gaskets for the turbos. These are the Chinese ones. Now, I have ordered genuine ones from FCP Euro, so I'm kind of interested to see how the genuine ones compare to these China versions. Got a new thermostat. That's going to go in when I fit the turbo. I've actually been having the thermostat error for ages. I just haven't bothered fitting it because you can clear it and it goes away for a week or so. And obviously, I'll be right in there when I do the turbo, so I may as well do it at the same time. This little Y fitting here, this is from Black Market Parts, and it is to set up my stage 3 fuel pump. Now, I was going to try and basically make this hose that joins the two pumps together, but I think it was about $25 US. I'll put a link to that as well, and also the spare Black Market Part Walbro fitting to go on the other pump. And while we're talking about the fuel system, this is the other pump. Now, I'm still running my original Chinese pump in the car. That's the best part of 5 months and 5,000 kilometers. It's still going fine. I'm still nervous about the China pump, but for the sake of the video and keeping the budget going, that's another $30 Australian Walbro 460. So we'll see what sort of pressures it will hold once we've got the port injection on there. The two turbos, which we will have a closer look at very, very shortly. I have got new, I don't know what you call them, but the fuel tank clamps that hold the sender unit and the fuel pump unit. The only reason I've got that is because when I first did my low pressure fuel pump upgrade, I didn't have the proper tool to undo it, and I did damage a couple of the prongs. So while I was doing an FCP order, I thought I may as well get those. They're genuine, they were dollars. These are the 3 O2 sensors that I've got. Now, these two rear ones are basically just the Bosch generic post-cat sensors, and this one is a proper plug-in for the, I think this is for the rear turbo. I've already replaced the front one, or vice versa, whichever one it is, but I've already replaced one of the front O2 sensors, so that'll be a full set of new O2 sensors. This is the 3.5 bar genuine map sensor. I'll put a link to how I ordered this as well, because I didn't order the normal process. I think this is an N21 that come off eBay, and I found it just by searching for the part number, but it is the 3.5 bar sensor. That is the transcooler. This was the $60 transcooler. I'll put a link to that as well. That's actually really, really good quality. Everything about that seems pretty good, and for 60 Aussie dollars, it's just nothing. The port injection kit, still missing my injectors. They still haven't arrived, but yeah, this was the second-hand port injection kit, which hopefully within 2 weeks will be on the car. My 6 new Elder coils, genuine Elder coils, hopefully you can see in there. They're all to go on. I can't find the spark plugs. that I did order when I ordered these, so I'm sure they're around somewhere, but I have got the 2-step Calder NGKs to go in, which I will do when all this gets fitted. And lastly, on the table of things I could find, I've actually got a brand new rocker cover. This is also an aftermarket item. I think it was about 200 Aussie delivered. Comes with a new gasket, new bolts, everything. I will be fitting my upgraded PCV that is currently in the vehicle. I've got an aluminium PCV valve. The reason I'm putting that on is I'm pretty confident my original valve cover is cracked. It's done 155,000 kilometers, and we all know they're prone to cracking. It's just another thing, I don't want to have vacuum leaks or any issues with that. So while I'm in there doing the port injection, I think I'll just change the rocker cover so I know it's got a brand new one, and that should be all good. So that is the pile of goodies that I've got to go on the car in preparation for making sure that these things all work properly. And yeah, I'll try and do as many videos as we can on the process. But yeah, this is basically what we're going to get on with tomorrow, actually, intercoolers fitting. So I'll do a video tomorrow on how much better the 7.5 inch is over a 5 inch. We'll do some tests and temperature comparisons. But for the rest of this video, let's get into a close look at these China 17Ts and see what they're like. So we've got the 2 turbos here. I'm going to start off by looking at the rear one, and I'll overlay some shots with the GH4 just so you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. But initial impressions of the turbo, everything looks quite good. All the castings are... They don't look like crappy castings. I haven't had a good look at mine aside from when they're on the vehicle, which is quite hard to see. But yeah, all the parts that need to be machined are nicely machined around the mounting points. The overall finish and just what they look like is actually really quite impressive. Looking inside the turbine housing, the part where the wastegate is welded onto the wastegate flapper all looks very nicely welded. You can see right in where the turbine is. Everything looks quite good. Everything is definitely got a thick coating of oil, which obviously they do that for corrosion purposes. But yeah, visually looking at them at that point, the rear turbo looks really good. And the front turbo. Now, it's all pretty much the same story. I'm sure they're made at the same time. All the faces where they need to be flat are machined properly. There's a little bit of excess material on this section. I guess it's got something to do with the way they are cast or whatever they've copied to get this shape. Now on the front turbo, they've actually ground off something that was in the casting. So I don't know if it's maybe had some sort of text stamped in there, or if it's just a defect that they've cleared up. But there is clear evidence where something has been ground down off the top of that manifold. Same ordeal, very similar style welding on the wastegate flapper, although it is probably a slightly smaller weld. And looking in the turbine wheel, everything looks pretty much exactly the same. There's a small mark where you can see they've machined down one particular blade, which I'll try and capture with the other camera. Yeah, but aside from that, everything visually looks really good. Okay, sorry if this light is super bright there, but I'm going to use it to try and get some decent footage for this. So I'm just going to actually have a pull and a wiggle on the wastegates themselves. I'll just get this one around so I can do it. Now, a couple of people commented in the first video I said where I was doing the eBay ones that they actually had issues with the wastegate flappers falling off. Now, I guess that's going to be down to the welds not holding up. But I just want to see how much play is in the sleeve where the wastegate goes down into the turbine housing. We'll start off with this one, which you might just put a light like that. So this is the rear turbo, and if I'll try and move that rod, so a little bit of up and down play, and a little bit of left to right. Now obviously that's the rod as it goes down, and you can see the piece moving there. So it's not a complete tight fit, although I don't know what perfect tolerances should be. And on the wastegate flapper itself, reasonable amount of play there. And I'm just gonna, and you can see the play in the top rod on the rear turbo. Unfortunately, I've never had a set of brand new BMW turbos to compare, but hopefully that is within tolerance. I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me if it's not. And we'll just do the same with this one. So that is moving the rod back and forth, the wastegate flapper movement there. And I'll just try it up here as well. So yeah, there's definitely play in there, but I don't know if that is within OEM tolerance. There is absolute, well, I shouldn't say absolutely, but there's very, very minimal shaft play. In fact, I can't really feel any shaft play at all in either turbine, which you wouldn't expect on brand new turbos. And they both spin relatively freely. The very first time I spun them, you could feel that there was a considerable amount of oil all through the shaft. But yeah, after 2 spins, it's freed up and it feels like a nice fresh turbo. And you can see, this one's actually on the right angle. Hopefully the camera will get me in there to show. But you can see on this turbine where it has been balanced at some point. One thing I didn't like about these turbos, they did come with a balancing sheet from a company in the UK, which obviously these haven't been sent to the UK and then back to China to be dispatched. So the VSR, or whatever the balancing sheet is that they supplied, is just utter rubbish. But there is some sort of balancing going on that one. The rear turbo has no marks on the nut to show that it has been balanced on the turbine side, but the compressor side, which I'll show you with this camera, the compressor side has had some balancing done. And you can see how the nut is all ground down on certain sides. Yeah, so I'll just check the compressor on this side. And this compressor has had some grinding down on top. Hopefully you can see that there. Well, all right, so that is it. That is a closer look at these Chinese turbos and the parts I'm going to get fitted to the car in order to prepare the vehicle for it. If you've got any questions about them, if there's anything you'd like me to measure or check that I can do sort of semi-easily before they go in the car, hit us up in the comments below. But until next time, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.